I grew up with a alcoholic father. So whenever he would get upset, he would put it out on my mom and myself. So we got beat a lot, daily. Growing up, I would get beat for anything. So I didn't know the difference between right and wrong. I was kind of a very confused kid. And I also grew up with a learning disability. I don't know if I so much had a learning disability versus a big time fear. And so I had social anxiety. I was all messed up. I had the capacity to learn, but as a young kid, when you're getting beat like that for no reason, I believe that your mind doesn't work properly. I don't know. That's just what I think. So I did that from the time I was born, the time I was 8 years old, just getting beat for no reason. So my mom finally got the courage to leave my father around 1983. We went to a small town in Brazil, Indiana. In Brazil, Indiana, that's where I really faced hardcore racism. And the funny thing about it is, there were a lot of good people in that small town in Brazil, Indiana. But the funny thing about it, every one of them will tell you today that none of them called me a nigger. There was about 5 to 10 black families out of 8,000 people, all white, which is fine. It's cool. No big deal. The Klan marched in our 4th of July parade in 1995. So it's just funny how, as time goes on and these kids grow up, how much they want to forget what really happened and tell you that it didn't exist. So from the time I was 8 until I graduated high school, pretty much not everyone called me nigger, but I heard it more often, than not. On my first car, I got a brand new, well, not brand new, it was a citation, and they spray painted, "We're going to kill you" on that car. So imagine you come out of school, you're a sophomore in high school, you come out and you see your car located in the back of the parking lot, and you see some white stuff on it. You can't read it because you're too far away. As you get closer, you see, "We're going to kill you," in my Spanish notebook. And the best advice I ever got was from my principal, who's obviously white. He said I couldn't spell. So I had a 4th grade reading level in high school. So basically here I'm in high school and they spelled nigger Niger. They missed a G. So he said, "These kids are ignorant." It's the best advice I got. My mom was working 3 jobs. She was trying to go to school, working 3 jobs. So she was never home. So I missed a lot of school. So when you're the dumbest kid in school, at least you think this, when you're one of the only handful of black kids in school, you start to hide. So I hid at home, I hid away from people, I hid everywhere. But I had 2 personalities. I had one personality that was this big thuggish type of guy who walked around, pants sagging, hat kicked back. I was a thug. But the real me was a big punk, because I was afraid of my own shadow, because my dad took my soul as a young kid. And then when I moved from Buffalo to Brazil, the children took my soul, and I had no one to cry to, which kind of helped me out. My mom was gone, life was hard, and I kind of raised myself. So I had to figure out a way out, and my way out was the military. So I actually tried to go in the military. I thought to get in the military, you had to do push-ups and sit-ups. I didn't know you had to read and write. So I take this examination, and I failed it huge. I got one of the lowest scores possible on it. Took it again 30 days later, failed again. And then this is when I had to really buckle down. So I learned pretty much all of high school in 6 months. Got a tutor. We can only afford $15 a month. A week. So I saw her 4 hours a week or 4 hours a month, and learned all of high school in that period. And from there, the story gets better, but that's kind of how it started off. I don't know what week it is, but for me, it was my 3rd week. And sometimes it's your 3rd, 4th, or 5th week in Navy SEAL training. Navy SEAL training is 6 months long. And this is like the biggest crucible in Navy SEAL. It probably in all of special forces, special ops. It's 130 hours of continuous training. And you might get 2 hours of sleep. And the whole idea is you start on Sunday and you end on Friday. You might get 2 hours of sleep. And the whole idea of this training is to get a man and break him down to nothing. And that's where you see what a man's made of. So to make it through one, most people say, "I'm never going back through again." So I was fortunate. God blessed me. So I started looking at these failures as blessings. Because with all these failures and all these bullies and all these being abused and my learning disabilities and stuttering and everything I had in my life, they are really gifts. And it's not some psychological babble bull crap that I'm using to say, oh no, my life wasn't that bad. No, my life sucked. But they truly were gifts, because all these different trials and tribulations led my mind to where it's at now. So Hell Week, once again, 130 hours. You get 2 hours of sleep maybe, and they beat the crap out of you. Beating like push-ups, sit-ups, and it's near the Pacific Ocean. So you're out in the Pacific Ocean, back in, and that water's freezing. And so you see these men, these great men that I watched on TV, I'm now with them. And for the longest time, I put people who had better childhoods, better grades, better this, better that, I put them all above me. But now I'm on the same playing field as them. So when you get on the same playing field as these men who you think are better than you look at them eye to eye and you realize that they're not. So once again, I'm starting to do all this live autopsy, like saying, God, man, you were mind-fucking yourself your whole life, thinking that this person came from a nicer house, better education, better mom, better dad, and they're better than you. It's not the case. You have this in you. You may have to dig a little deeper to find it. You know, their family may have started them off a lot better than you, but it's there. It's there. So I started really realizing how powerful the mind was in that third Hell Week. I would call this guy up at almost every night about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night and give him an update. I said, hey man, I've lost 25 pounds. Because no one knew what I was doing. So I'm really good at creating an enemy. I'm really good at creating something that I'm against. And I'm also good at, if you ever tell me something that I cannot do, I'm gonna let you know that I'm doing it. Somehow you're gonna know one way or another that I'm doing it. It may not be like in your face. I may make sure that I run across the daggone world. So then it's on the news and you turn the news on and say, how the hell? I wanna do something that you know I'm here. I'm here. So every time I lose like a big significant amount of weight, I call that recruiter up and say, hey man, I'm here. I'm here. And before I knew it, man, this guy became almost like my best friend at that time. I started actually changing his life. You know, he started seeing, wow, man, like I'm glad I took a shot on this guy. And not only did I lose weight, I had to go back and take the ASVAB test again. It was like a watered down SAT a couple more times just to get in the Navy SEAL. So it was a big process. So that 3 months was packed full of like failures, depression, even more. But what I found out in that whole 3 months, I lived a lifetime. In that 3 months, I started realizing if I can flip these insecurities upside down, if I can flip this fear, if I can flip all this that made me this depressed, insecure guy, if I can flip it and make it work for me versus against me, I started seeing the power in failure, the power in insecurity, the power in self-doubt. Because I looked at everybody, it may not be true, but that's how I looked at everybody, as being way above me. I thought to myself, if I can be at the lowest part in the world, in the sewer, and be able to overcome all this, I started using that as power. And I slowly started passing the guys from Harvard, the guys from MIT, the guys who were these from great families. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm catching up. I had nothing. So I started flipping it and using it as power.